And welcome. It is a Tuesday night on Thanksgiving week. I'm Graham Coffey. That's John Smith. That's Josh Hancher. We are here to talk a little Georgia-Kentucky film review, look ahead a little bit to Georgia Tech, and maybe discuss some college football playoff rankings and great of all time. How are you guys this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm ready to watch football and eat until I can't eat anymore, pass out, watch a little more football, eat till I can't eat anymore. It's going to be that great, that kind of week.
That Egg Bowl second quarter nap followed by a piece of pecan pie is really one of the best parts of my year, if we're being honest.
Man, I don't know if I want to watch Lane's last game at Ole Miss.
I do.
Yeah, on a we'll talk about that some other time. Is it Lane's last game at Ole Miss? That's a whole other topic that Graham didn't even mention in the opening. So,
I mean, I'm very tempted to just go ahead and take Mississippi State in the points with the way things have been going in Oxford this week.
I mean, yeah, that Saturday. If Saturday was any indication, if Lane is still as distracted as he was when his team had 700 yards of offense and still only scored 26 points, then you may want to roll with Mike Leach.
Well, yeah, and also getting down like 28-0, I think, or something, 28-3 maybe to Arkansas.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To borrow a line from Coach Colquitt, if he pits down his leg, they may just fire him, regardless if he's going to Auburn or not.
Yeah. Cool. That would be awesome, actually, if Ole Miss just was that spiteful high school girlfriend that knows the end is coming and is just or boyfriend for that matter, but that person in a relationship that knows the end is coming. They can kind of see the signs. So they just go ahead and hit the ripcord first. No, I broke up with you. You didn't break up with me.
You can't fire me. I quit.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, if Lane is getting waxed at halftime of the Egg Bowl and he's going to Auburn, he may just quit. Don't.
If they had a tarmac in one of those towns, he could get fired on it.
Yeah, no, you got to go. You got to go a good ways to get tarmacked in anywhere in Mississippi.
You got to get bus stopped if you're in Starkville or Oxford.
Oh, God.
Okay, initial thoughts on the Kentucky game. I mean, I know, Graham, you did another killer job with the 12 takeaways, and that was a deep dive into it, of course, as always. So I guess, John, what was hit us up with some of your quick thoughts before we get into the rewatch here.
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's a classic. We've said this a couple times this year, and I don't want it to become a cliche because it is really true. It's a classic, Kirby Smart kind of football game. I think, Kirby Smart, I really believe that he has some of these games where Georgia has everything ahead of them. Georgia has everything in front of them. You want to go and you want to play and a type of game where you're going to have limited possessions. You want to stay healthy. Their offense is likely not going to score on your defense. And so I think Georgia played that type of game. And I don't think that there's anything necessarily to be concerned about. I think there was a lot of sloppy play that we'll talk about as we get into the film. But at the end of the day, this really came down to Kirby Smart was going to play a Kirby Smart kind of football game, and was perfectly happy winning that game 16-6 and staying relatively healthy. Even when you look at the snap count, you had guys that would normally be in the rotation that were in Lexington that didn't get in the game. And that wasn't, in my opinion, it wasn't because of it was a very intentional move for some of those guys not to get in the game. It was an opportunity for them to stay healthy. It was an opportunity to rotate in some other guys and play. And so that's my takeaway was classic Kirby Smart late November football game versus Kentucky.
I got to be honest. It was a little disconcerting to see the offense just again kind of just turtle a little bit. And I'm not going to press the panic button and tell you that this is the offense that we're going to see in a couple of weeks in Atlanta and going forward. But it's always nice to see that, when they just got it going. It's just fun to watch,
Yeah, well, I mean, we saw it last week, right? Like you saw it just a week ago versus Mississippi State. Again, it wasn't a complete offensive output, but you saw it just a week ago versus Mississippi State, where the offense was doing what they wanted to through the air, and this is just the opposite. But I do agree with you, Josh. That there are times where, I mean, you're the number one team in the country. Go out, like, please, can you not put 30 on Kentucky and let's let's go home? 16 did feel a little low.
Yeah, they threw the ball four times in the second half. They ran the ball 30 times in the second and third quarters for 5.5 yards, and pretty good success rate. And you'll see when we get into the games, you'll see some good runs. And then I know some situational stuff with the runs inside the red zone were not good, but they did some things well. It just seems like they knew what they needed to do, and they did it, and they got on the bus and got out of there with a win.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, like, I don't know. I do have some theory that's in Bennett and wind games. Going back to 2020, like if the wind is gusting like it was in Lexington on Saturday, he's had some issues in that environment in the past. I mean, last year's Florida game being maybe the most notable example where, when they were going one way, he was overthrowing a lot of balls. When they were going the other way, he was underthrowing a lot of balls. So there might be something to that. I do think it sends the wrong message when, you've been a pass-first offense all year who's been very intentional about being explosive through the air, and you have an interception on the first possession of the second half, and you basically like shut down the offense because it almost looks like you don't trust your sixth year, 25-year-old quarterback to run things. And maybe you don't have to throw the ball, but like I don't love the idea behind it of like, well, we can kind of just be explosive whenever we choose to be. Like, I think, if you're an offense, most offensive coaches and people would tell you like rhythm matters. And, I just hope that you don't look back on that game at the end of this weekend or next weekend and say like, this Georgia offense was moving along very well, and then they kind of hit this weird game against Kentucky and really find their rhythm again after that. But to be determined.
Let's talk through it as we watch. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I don't know. I thought this opening series, right, like is kind of indicative of the whole day. Like you should hold them to a 3-and-out. You play really good run defense all day. Like this is awesome work by Dumas Johnson. I thought the defensive line looked really good, especially against the run. Pass rush, not so much at times, but like it's the run, they were great. And Kentucky's a good run team. Good job there by Carter pinching down. Like you get to third down, and I don't even remember what the penalty was at this point, but you have a stupid penalty to keep the drive alive, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
Oh no, I'm sorry, you don't. You just have this play where Ringo never plays the ball and doesn't turn around, and like I thought that. Like the way these first two defensive drives kind of went where Kentucky had the ball for forever, I think that also like kind of influenced some of the conservative nature of Georgia's play calling because, instead of starting the game with the ball basically at midfield, like Kentucky's flipped the field on you, and then I think on the next drive you're going to have a hands to the face on a 3rd and 18 that wipes out a punt. So yeah, it's just it really kind of screwed up the game flow from the start if you want to play like aggressive offense and jump on top of somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they threw it 10 times in the first 3 quarters and 20 in the fourth. So they were definitely had a mindset of controlling the clock and run the ball and take the yards however hard fought they were going to get, and pass when they needed to. And that's sort of kind of what you want a game script to be like if you're this Georgia defense. But they like you said, they made mistakes and they didn't make a whole lot of great plays. And Ringo certainly made an awesome play we're going to see in the first half on an interception. I believe it's in the first half. But these 3rd down conversions, they played. I think they played as good as they could, and they still really never really were in doubt of upsetting us. I mean, it's easy to say.
No.
And so it's and we've talked about it. You're going to get every team's best shot. I'm not going to sit there and tell you that they were looking ahead last week losing to Vanderbilt, but you're not going to get the Vanderbilt performance when you're the number 1 team in the country and then the defending national champions coming to your coming to your house at 3:30 for a CBS game.
It was interesting on some of these early series when I was talking about rotations a few minutes ago. Like on a couple of plays ago, you had Ryan Davis and Tresman Marshall in there, right? And so there was some intentional personnel that was being played that I do think ended up extending some of these drives. But it's really, really interesting to see, like, in this case, you got Ryan Davis and Tresman Marshall. Tresman just gets beat. But I think there was a lot of intentionality about who was being played on Saturday. And I think that
I mean, I think, we've kind of seen that this year in a lot of games, right? Like the Kent State game where everybody was sounding the alarm about Georgia giving up 22. It's like, well, how many times has Bill Norton been in on 3rd and 3 in the red zone over the last 4 years? Nothing wrong with Bill Norton, great kid, all that, but it's just like it's not, not your normal like first team defensive line rotation. And man, I think let's like I don't want to be too hard on Kirby here, but like nobody, like someone tweeted at me at halftime of like, this is a 6-0 game. Georgia better get their stuff together. They're going to lose or whatever. And like someone in the responses was like, dude, nobody loves this 6-0 halftime game more than Kirby Smart. Like
100%.
Like he's absolutely loving every second of this right now. Like there's nothing to be worried about, which is probably true. But it still is one of those things where you're just kind of like, is this necessary? No, it's not. This was a great stand here, 3rd and 1, and you have your first team, your first team front 7 in,
exactly,
and they get a stop.
Yeah, and you saw
Michael played a really good game. You saw him there, just 13 jumping that gap.
Yeah, and that's what was happening, right? You would get to these money down situations, and you would see that first team that you would expect to be in there on the defensive side of the ball, and they would stop Kentucky most of the game. And so I think, just something to point out.
If I can nerd out for a second, this is exactly the type of game where you look at the explosives rating. I haven't really talked a lot about explosive plays this year, but primarily talking about, success rate and yards per play and EPA. But this is one of those things, because their success rate was pretty low, but they did have some big plays. They probably beat Georgia decisively in the explosiveness rating. And that goes to show you, it's like, how good are your good plays? Well, they didn't have a lot of good plays, but they were really good. And that's honestly how they stayed in the game, especially if they're a ball control offense and you make a few good plays. But the red zone defense was 11% success rate allowed and versus Kentucky. So they clamped down on you. And you talk about money downs, you talk about money zone. I mean, that's where Georgia's defense eats, is they just clamp down on you and stuff. And even the touchdown they got was on 4th down. So I tell you right there, the 25% success rate, even on their scoring down, it takes a lot of plays. And you got to like that as a Georgia fan. I mean, I was enjoying the defense.
Can we back?
Yeah. How many plays?
Up to just the Darnell throw, just the play right here. I think, is this it?
Either first or second down. I can't remember.
It's the next one.
Yeah, this was a touchdown.
Or no, Darnell's not on the field for that. Yeah, it's I think it's this one coming up right here. I don't know. A lot of people were talking about this, and like I will be the first to say, Stetson has a weird penchant for only overthrowing the biggest dude on the field. That said, like if you look at what the coverage is doing here, all right, the safety's dropped out. It's Darnell on a linebacker. Like as in Todd Monken's read-based offense on this wheel route, I mean, Darnell should be running like full speed upfield to where, in the neighborhood of where that ball lands, because by the time he catches it up there, if he's running and outrunning that linebacker, like that's probably a touchdown because he's going to be one-on-one in the open field with the safety, and he's either going to truck stick him or hurdle him. But I don't know. Those two keep doing this where one of them reads something and the other one reads the other thing. And, you had it the game before at Mississippi State where you missed a touchdown. And it's a little frustrating to watch because like Darnell Washington is such a weapon, and somehow defenses continue to leave the biggest dude on the field open. Like they don't, he slips out and he's got all that green space. But I will say, in fairness to Stetson, like he's done this thing a lot lately where, Darnell has, where like he basically, cuts his route at the wrong spot or doesn't cut it at the right spot or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I felt like that play was a big topic of conversation on social media. Really good run from Dejan right there, man. Like that little lean, find the hole.
Yeah, you kept thinking as many good runs as they had like that they were going to really start taking over, and just they did. They had a bunch of good runs, and then they kind of got shut down
because they became so one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Like,
by the way,
we'll talk about it when we get to the second half. But
yeah, the explosives and rating for the game was 1.22 for Kentucky, and Georgia was 0.87. So that was by an explosiveness factor. Yeah, Kentucky was much better on the bigger plays.
Like a third better, basically.
Oh,
yeah, exactly.
On the 4 big plays, I think they were having the entire game. It felt like
36% success rate and 60 plays. So like 12 or 15 successful plays.
Yeah, I was
nobody 4. Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah. Good math, sir.
Anybody open there on that last play? Like, yeah, right here. Like, we're gonna see the reverse angle too, but
yeah,
like I don't see anyone open.
No, nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe Stetson can choose to run a little bit differently than he did. I don't know.
Sometimes
it defended pretty well.
Yeah, you live to fight another day with that play. That's one of those where if he forces it in there, he gets. We're going to criticize him for making a Stetson throw, and it's like, yeah, sure, you can't tuck and run every play because this happens too. It's like it's a good defense. Kirby talked about it.
Yeah,
again, everyone's covered. Everyone's covered there too.
Yeah, nothing really. I mean, I don't know. Brock working back. Well, no, they got that defender working back towards them from the K in the end zone. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I thought that was kind of a story of this game as well. Like Georgia didn't pass very much, but even when they did, it wasn't like, I mean, that Darnell throw, that's why I think that mistake is magnified even more, later on, knowing how the game went, because there just wasn't really any other time in the game where somebody was that open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they played a good defensive game. Graham, I like what you said, sort of it's not a great look when you see, that interception to start the second half. We're going to see in a little bit, and the offense just, goes into its turtle shell. I'm going to use that a lot tonight, I guess. but and also the one of the few big pass plays we had was like could have been a pick six the other way.
Pick six.
Yeah. So
that throw right there from Levis, like that could have been a pick six. You know, I mean, there are times where like you just gotta trust your quarterback to rip it if he thinks he can, and clearly thought he could. Dude, Kamari Lassiter,
so good
on those screens. Yeah, like would not be blocked. I love how he like basically like faked out the 84 there for Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I did think like that, you know, you go back and look at the stats from this game. Pretty much all of Kentucky's most successful runs, or, you know, 75% of them were Levis. Like I thought they could have run him a little more. I know the broadcast was talking about the toe injury, but he did run some in the fourth quarter.
This is your season, you know. I mean,
yeah.
Especially with as close as the game was, I did feel like Kentucky, you know, they went in their shell a little bit too.
They did
at times. Yeah,
playing not to lose.
Yeah,
yeah, and I mean,
I would too if I was Mark Stoops and knew I was going to get that extension the next day. Like just
apparently already signed it.
Keep it close.
I know. Yeah, that's a play you'd like Dumas Johnson to make.
Yeah.
Third down, third and long. Like that's a big part of Kirby's defensive system, is not allowing quarterbacks, if they're going to run on you, not letting them run straight.
Yeah.
And Levis was able to do that.
Yeah, it was interesting.
This the pick coming up right here.
Yeah, I think this is it.
I think it is. It is a hell of a play.
Yeah.
It just, you know,
it's not. No, it's the next. Yeah, that's the next one.
One of the hell of a play too, but you know,
yeah. Well, the physicality was, you know, Kirby talks about it with Kentucky all the time. But here's the pick.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, honestly, David Daniel in the game there as well at safety, which is not the norm, right? Like he hasn't played a ton this year, especially in moments like that. And
in the second quarter, you've got him at safety. You got Starks rolled up
at star.
Yeah. At star.
And I mean, Daniel's in perfect position. Like he gets across there well. If that throw is on target, I don't know if he makes the play, but he's gonna have a chance to. He's playing cover 2 perfectly from a safety standpoint. Like it's
call me crazy. I'm not an X and O's guys, but this is similar to and a little closer to the end zone. I think the Tennessee was at the 40 when they threw at him, and it's the same kind of thing. It's like they're gonna go at Ringo. Like, you know, and I think Ringo's. I mean, he's always gonna be one of my favorite dogs. I mean, we've talked about some of his mistimed jumps, getting beat. Not, you know, earlier in the game he gave it the big play on third down, but it's like they're gonna challenge him. So if this kid, you know, like he might cost us the game, but man, he might win us one too. And if I'm pretty comfortable they're going to throw at him. You know, if that's
and you're going to keep seeing that. I think in the Tennessee game, it was definitely press man on that boundary. He didn't have help over the top like he had with the safety right there. So I think that was, you know, Will Levis just trying to force something, but you are going to see him throw at Ringo, and I don't blame him. And that's not, you know. Like,
is that a compliment to Lassiter as much as it is as a dig at Ringo? Or
it should be.
It should.
I mean, Lassiter's been so good, but I think
it's just.
Oh, and Ringo's probably is Ringo moving across the field to get the number one guy, or is he playing one side?
He's playing one side.
One side. So it's more that than it is anything else. So Georgia, their corners are going to play a side, and typically Ringo is going to be, just because of the nature of the scheme, a lot of times he's going to be on that island over there, and so you're just going to get more balls thrown that way.
Yeah, we should talk about that. Was a good decision by Stetson. Good throw on the run.
Yeah, this is
another one where, like, I guess, yeah, I mean, it's probably good for him to not try to make that throw to Brock, but you could, if you put it on the back pylon, that's probably a touchdown. But like, those are also the plays that
we yell at him to take what they give you.
Yeah. Little sidearms, little just flip out there to.
Yeah, it seemed like we were first in goal at the 9 and 10 a lot in this game too, which is
that is true. Yeah. I mean, I thought like they ran the ball really well all the way down the field until they didn't. I did think that Devin Willock played a really, really nice football game on Saturday in at right guard for Ratledge, 77, in for 69. Like, played well enough there that I think there's an argument to maybe continue seeing how that goes. But I mean, here, okay, 3rd and goal. Where's that going to go? That's a tough throw to McConkey from the opposite hash with the field that flattened out and that corner playing that flat. Like, that can easily turn into a pick six. You see the corner jumping it.
Yeah.
It's just there's nobody open, right? Like,
yeah. I do feel like, and this is
although you do have Darnell.
I feel like Ladd. Yeah. Yeah. I do. That's what I don't understand. Again, there's a lot of reasons why this happens, but you got a 6'7" guy over there in one-on-one man coverage. Like, can we just throw the ball up a couple times?
See what happens.
Yeah.
I know. I saw a lot of people kind of like criticizing Stetson for not going over there, but like I don't know what the play call is. You know what I mean? Like that.
Well,
that's probably not
that play call.
The read.
Yeah, no, the read was clearly it was a pick play. I mean, so it's clearly Ladd. It's that's
Georgia got.
That's why you run that pick play because that's where you're going. That's why you run those picks. So,
oh man, this was. Every time I see Brock catch a screen, I get really excited. I thought that was going to pop. Yeah, I mean, Georgia really like the offensive line was back like, in their groove though. And Marius Mims played really well. Wasn't on the field a ton, but when he was at right tackle, he was moving folks. Josh, that was a play that you had kind of pointed out on Twitter.
Yeah, and it was a play that was similar, to the 3rd down play in the Mississippi State game. Different scenario. We were 3rd and 3 there. We're 1st and 10 here, and it's he kind of underthrew it, but Dom could have made a play, and like you said, he overthrew it on that one. And I actually went and dug back, and I only can find one other instance where they played something similar charting wise, and that was
dude. This is a
good run. It was an 18-yard pass play to McConkey. So maybe they're just still trying to find out situational plays. Maybe, I don't know. But
wait, go back to that. Do we have that full reverse angle?
I think so. You told me to go back, so I stopped it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it'll play after this.
Look at Willick though. I mean, like Brock gets like basically a pancake block coming through here, and then Willick 77 does a perfect job of turning. I think it's a linebacker. Turning him out of the hole. And you've got Blaylock up at the 2nd level and McConkey out there. Like, not only is your offensive line mashing ass right there, but like all your skill players are as well. And yeah, here, Bowers, look at him take this dude and straight pummel him into the dirt. Number 23.
Yeah, look at Dom.
Yeah, Dom springs it. And
yep.
I mean, springs it, but he certainly.
Well, but Kenny McIntosh doing like that hesitation in the hole. I think those are the little things that are underrated. When you think, I mean, that's what made DeAndre Swift so good. That's what made a lot of those good backs that have come through Georgia. Kenny McIntosh was definitely in that zone with timing this game where that's something you just got to feel out, and he was
really patient. Yeah,
big time.
I mean, I think that's what the shame of this game was for me in the second half is like, as well as that run game was working, if Georgia had just stayed not even like pass heavy by any stretch, but just threatened to throw the ball, against 9 and 10 man boxes. Like, A, there should have been some plays downfield to be made, but B, it would have allowed that run game to, I think, continue humming the way that it was for the first 3 quarters.
That's a nice throw there, throw and catch to extend the drive and give you a chance to kick yet another.
Rosemy not getting out of bounds there hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not really his fault necessarily. Like, I mean, it's kind of just what it is. But yeah, I mean, at that point, like the yards are less important than the time. Yeah, I thought that was almost really nice. I thought it was a catch in live.
I at least deserved reviewing, which they didn't even review it.
I agree.
And that and like I don't think I did the replay on this, but you know, this is also sorry.
This is third quarter.
Sorry.
You're good.
Here we go. And then this is a situation where it feels like, you know, Brock kind of should have gone to the stick, right? I mean,
I don't even know really, because like there's so little time left in the half that it doesn't matter. You know, like so. You got to kick after that either way. But I mean, Danielson, as annoying as he is, he was right that like technically his forward progress is stopped before he's out of bounds, and that should be a winding clock and end of half.
Oh, well, it's having the rest on your side doesn't suck. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't go quite that far, but you're right. I mean, here's like another, you know, like we talked a lot last week about the zone versus gap, where, you know, Georgia ran, I think, 23 zone and 6 gap against Mississippi State. And then this week it was like 20 and 21, like perfect gap to zone split. But you look at a lot of these plays that were explosive runs, it's gap scheme. That's a gap scheme play right there. That's like this type of play. Like I just, in the fourth quarter when we were slamming our head against the wall over and over and over again, like just watching Georgia like bash into giant lines, I just like pitch it, do something outside. All right, so let's talk about this, because I mean like the it's a bad decision, but if you're Ladd and you're gonna open your pads to your quarterback, you cannot give up on this right. Yeah, right there where he turns inside. Like that's Stetson's signal to release the ball. And you know, and I mean the other thing too is like, okay, it's double coverage, or I mean it's cover 2. There's a safety in there. You know, the 2 giant bombs that Kentucky hit in the fourth quarter, both against cover 2. Like if Ladd is going to be number 1 wide receiver on an SEC team or on a national championship contender, like, you know, there's got to be times where you expect him to go and make that play. Traffic.
And you can see it there if you rewind it just a little bit, Josh. Like right here, that he's showing his pads. There. Stetson still has the ball in his hand, and then winds up, and Ladd, for whatever reason, just stops. Like he turns his head, stops, turns it back the other way.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And Ladd has also got that defensive back like beat to the inside. Like,
just keep going.
So, you know, he should be going inside where the ball is, basically. Another stud play by Lassiter against the screen. Absolute monster.
Yeah, this one, I believe they give up the. Do we give it up here, or we make a punt?
Yeah, no, I think they punt. Yeah. And then you go and run the ball all the way down the field.
Yeah.
Gap play right there. Another gap play. And this was great to see Kendall Milton have like a feature drive for the first time, and I'm not sure how long. Yeah, you got Truss and Broderick coming around. Nice hole. Like, it's really pretty to watch those guys do that dance when it's working right.
Yeah. I thought Kendall was running well.
Yeah, he looks healthy for the first time all year.
Yeah, he does.
Get that seal, bam.
Yeah, it's good times.
Yeah, I'm sure that Levis has got plenty of tape that they'll put at the draft. But my little favorite thing I've heard, I think it was Thamel or whatever, talked about he went and interviewed NFL scouts in the Cam Newton draft, and Cam only had that 1 year and stuff, and he's like, "Who are you gonna take?" Blah blah blah, and he's like, Cam Newton had 7 snaps that they felt like passing the ball, like that were NFL quality, like you could actually make a judgment on 7 his entire year versus it. So this is a game that they might show Levis against. This is a better defense than he's faced all year, but they're not going to show that. They're going to show the chunk cheesy plays that he played all year. But it was interesting to see. He did have a good game against a good defense. It wasn't a great game, but he certainly kept him in it and stuff. But there's a lot of Levis is one of those talking points on Twitter right now, but he maybe if they played to win the game a little more and he ran the ball and he run the ball a little more, maybe they make it closer. But sorry, I'm talking over all this. The only touchdown we scored.
You're good.
Yeah,
I mean, this is sweet.
It is in practice. That little action from Stetson and Brock, both. Because Georgia runs this play action all the time where they put the tight end on the little drag route into the flat, and Stetson rolls right. You see him flip it to Bowers all the time. So,
Willett getting upfield taking?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So, but that action though is really good at freezing that little linebackers for Kentucky.
Everybody's flowing that way for that drag route, and then Willett gets up on that second level. And that's easy right there. Easy money.
Yeah, and Kentucky's defensive line is not awful.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, see, I didn't like that's a nice first down 6-yard run from Kentucky.
Yeah.
Running Levis worked for them. So we're about to hit the portion of this highlight where I'm getting a little tired of Chaz Chambliss, guys, to be honest.
Yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, you got to do something well. You can't just take up space. And man, it's Georgia is at the level where it's very clear when you're not doing anything. Like you're just taking up space. And that is what seems to be happening most of the time. And that's a very harsh critique, but that's just true. I'm like, this dude is just taking up space. That's all he's doing.
Well, and it's like he's not even taking up the right space.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, yeah, exactly. You're literally just taking up a spot on the field. You're not doing any of that. You're not even taking up space well. I mean, God, I could take up space out there. Come on.
Come on. Just go get the Savage pads, hang out there, and slam them on somebody and get in the shot. Here's a
man. I'm pushing the weight class right now after between COVID and the holidays that I can get out there and we could make something happen.
No, I was saying that Chambliss could be the guy that's in charge of putting them on somebody else.
Putting them on. Okay. I thought you were telling me to put on the Savage pads. And
that was poorly executed joke, but
don't tip me, Josh. But yes, yeah. Let him stand on the bench holding the pads and waiting to celebrate. That'd be great.
So this is that play lock, but it's an interesting formation. Look at him, kind of like it's not a true tight bunch because there's only 2 of them there. Like it's the late throw by Stetson. He tries to pump fake this dude off, but
pump fake him in.
Yeah, it's close.
Yeah,
but
it's nice.
But, I mean, it's also. I don't know if it's that close. You know what I mean? Let's see.
See when he breaks on it.
Oh yeah.
One of our guys might take, Nolan, not Nolan, but yeah, maybe Nolan would take it to the house.
That's a good angle. It's not
that angle is not as good as the that all 22 type thing, but who cares?
Yeah,
it was a good play. We'll take it.
I mean, it worked out for him.
I mean, how else are we going to go give it up at the 1 yard line without that play?
More gap scheme this time. Not great. But, I mean, like Georgia at this point in the game still is not punted. We're late third quarter. And they were moving the ball fine before the interception on the first drive of the second half. Like, they moved the ball all day long until the end, until the fourth quarter when they just shut everything down. But, I mean, like, this is an incredible run by McIntosh.
Incredible.
Like,
oh, boys.
Oh God, here we come.
This is
popcorn,
where
popcorn meme.
Yeah, this is where I wanted to throw up for a couple reasons. Number one, I had Georgia 22.5 and a 16.
I did too. All right, so you're down here. It's 3rd and goal. You fullback it, and you don't follow your fullback. And shout out to our friend, or maybe my friend, Salt on Twitter, Big Salt. But I was in a chat with him the other day, and he was talking about our guards. And he's right. God. Like, we've got 6-7 guards.
Yeah.
And they aren't getting lower than the guy across from them in these situations. This is all straight low man wins. Like, Broderick Jones and Darnell Washington and Bowers are doing their job. Warren Erickson is getting dumped like this. Totally.
Yeah. No, Erickson goes almost straight up. I mean, he definitely goes for a ride, but his leverage, like, he lost all leverage immediately.
And this play, honestly, like, if Kendall Milton keeps his head up, this is a touchdown. Like, all he has to do is follow Jalen. Like, he puts his eyes to the ground and he tries to lean into, 1,200 pounds of humanity, and it doesn't work.
Still, you're like,
the other thing too. One other thing I want to say about this: it's 16-0, and I'm all for the principle of going for 4th and short and believing in your guys. But if you want to play the rest of the game, like wave the white flag, run the ball up the middle 3 times and punt, then you should have taken the field goal and made it a 3-possession game. Correct. And not have to kept putting your starters out there on defense to end it. All right, look at Chambliss on this, man. Let's rewind. Like, this is not at all. He's at the bottom of the line, 32.
Bottom of the line, 32 right here.
Is that technically an edge? That's kind of funny, actually.
Yeah. Not setting an edge.
Not how you set an edge at all. He jumps inside and then just like hits his knees as the dude goes past him.
Yes.
I mean,
that's taking up bad space right there. That space doesn't.
Well, dude, and it's just. I mean, you've got a 5-man front. Yeah. Like, you're in a 5-man front, which Georgia never is. So you've got plenty of help on the inside. All you have to do is play that edge and keep. It's your job to turn all of that back towards your help. Mm-hmm. This is just it's just a good play by Kentucky and Levis. Christopher Smith kind of got lost on a couple of these, but he's played so much good football for Georgia.
And he made the tackle.
He
made the tackle.
He did make the tackle.
Yeah, and when you get lost on those plays at that position, he did exactly what you're supposed to do, right? He turns and just runs, and you know you're going to give up the catch. You just got to get in position to make the tackle. So it's actually really good football.
Chambliss
is the missed field goal drive here.
No, it's not. This is a touchdown.
No, it's a touchdown.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, they're about to score.
Oh, this is the 99-yard drive.
Another one. I mean, look at again, guys. Josh, rewind that. I don't want to keep banging on the guy, but look at over the top, Chaz.
Yeah.
Top of the line, just comes bad angle, taking up bad space, no edge. I mean, come on.
He just commits himself in the worst ways sometimes. Like it's like he'd rather, like, I don't know, like it's like he almost like the way that you watch him move. It's like he's like he almost plays it like an offensive lineman who's trying to occupy an opponent.
Yeah, I love this.
Supposed to go around.
Yeah.
Again, I love this tackle right here. Yeah. By the way, we played so well all day. I mean, we give it up on the 4th down, but he's. I don't know. I thought we had held him here, and it was it's kind of one of those mesh, rub routes or whatever, and he gets it, and I love it. That was just fun. Yeah. Fun tackle. Good defense, and then not so good defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one hurt.
Yeah, it's another pretty, I mean, it's good play design, but it is a pick route.
Yep.
And honestly, Bullard is better off just running into that dude right there and hoping they throw the OPI flag.
Yeah.
God, dude, Kenny ran so well in this game.
So good.
So this is like a little kind of stretch zone kind of concept, but like with a cutback on it. But like it's not really a stretch zone because you're not going the other way, but you've got your offensive line moving, all blocking down, and then K-Mac just goes off that left side.
Yeah, he saw this. He saw this before he even got the ball.
Yeah,
he sees it right there, and he's like, "I know where I'm going."
Yeah, that vision, man. He was on it.
And good job by Stetson, actually, like stepping 223. Like the way that he holds that mesh point actually helps that open up because it kind of gives the threat of him possibly keeping the ball. That defender can't totally crash onto McIntosh.
All right. What happens the rest of this game? Nothing, right? We made
a whole bunch of this right here.
A whole bunch of this. Short yardage.
All right. Well, while this plays, if anybody sees anything cool we want to talk about, we can. I think we'll make some plays. All right. So it's Tuesday night. Rankings are released.
Yeah.
Bama goes to 7. Noteworthy or just another number, and they're not really in contention. Graham, you go first.
I know you have a conspiracy behind this.
I don't have a conspiracy. I have no conspiracy at all. I think my conspiracy is they suck at their job.
Well, I mean, who like what are the dog stats rankings? I guess that's
I mean, like if you're talking about actual teams, numbers, and all that sort of stuff, I've got them probably higher. But
I mean, like who do you think should be ranked where?
Okay, like I think Clemson as I don't believe that snapshot bullshit that they say. This is a snapshot of the season ended today, which I've heard is one of those things. I don't buy that. I don't like it. I think if I'm on the committee, I'm looking forward at what is likely to happen, and in which case I would want the 4 teams. I'm like this. So I'm saying LSU and USC have earned a chance, if you will, to more than Clemson to play into it. But I believe that Clemson has earned a chance to be in more than Alabama. Therefore, I would have Alabama behind Clemson because I believe that if Clemson wins out with 1 loss to a rising ranked Notre Dame team, should not have to try to jump Alabama, who will not play in a conference championship game to make the playoff. So if Clemson wins out, they should be ahead of Alabama, and I just don't know how you calculate that out if you're putting them behind Alabama now. So that's my only beef.
But they're going to play 13 games, and Alabama's going to play 12. So an idle Alabama will get passed by.
But that's what I'm saying. That should factor into your ranking right now. You're saying that Clemson's already earned that 13th data point, so therefore they should be ahead of Alabama. Like, why are we saying
that's fair?
Yeah, and
I agree with that because like you can't.
Yeah,
I mean, like I don't know. None of it hasn't happened yet, so you can't like dock. I mean, I don't think Alabama should be number 7 because they've been assy all year. That's why. Like, not just because they lost 2 games, but like they also could have lost 3 others. They got taken to the wire by Texas A&M, dude.
There you
know
go.
How bad Texas A&M is. They just screwed
only
around with
1,000 people. Only 1,000 people really know how bad they are.
Like for a half, like they could score on UMass. They had Bama one play into the night and done, and then we're gonna talk about like, oh, Alabama played Tennessee really close. Guess what, dude? Tennessee sucks. They're not very good. Tennessee. We never there's some people that never thought they were any good because like some people actually think defense matters. The top 3 scoring defenses in college football right now: Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Tennessee was like 54th. Like what tell me the outlier. And finally they got exposed by South Carolina. But Alabama, it's not that they shouldn't have a path to the playoff. They shouldn't, but like they shouldn't be anywhere near the top 10 in any poll because really they're out of reputation and recruiting rankings, and they haven't been good enough. It's not like they've just won the shit out of all their other games and had 2 close losses. They could have lost those other 3 games as well. They have not dominated anybody but Austin Peay this weekend.
They didn't dominate Austin Peay. I mean, they beat them 34-0, but it wasn't. I mean, come on.
They should have. I mean, it's Austin Peay, man. Let's go Peay.
Yeah, just throw that out.
Listen,
throw that out.
Yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, you're exactly right. I think so Ross Dellinger from Sports Illustrated said that a couple years ago they went and did like a mock process of this committee. It's where they were the committee, right? And they went in and did the thing. And he said they went in and did all the stuff the committee does. And his take was the process was more confusing and he had less trust in the process after going through it with this committee. And Bama being ranked ahead of Clemson when the 13th data point is already there is one example of that. It makes no sense where Bama is in this in the top 10. None at all. And honestly, I mean, if I'm being real honest, yes, LSU has played better, but it doesn't really make sense for LSU to be where they are. They got beat by 23 at home versus Tennessee. They beat Alabama on a 2-point conversion. They 13-10 versus Arkansas. Like at the end of the day, the whole thing is just it's just wild. Like you're in a place where you know who's going to get the 13th data point. you know which teams realistically have a chance of making this and don't, and all the chaos that would have to happen for some of these teams to make it. So just rank them that way. If you're going to rank them, like you said, the committee is doing nothing but setting themselves up where they're gonna have Clemson jump Alabama if Clemson continues to win, and it just becomes this whole thing that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I would start with, maybe you wind down or what, I don't know, but I get it. You got to make a television show out of it every week for some reason. You've got to rank 25 teams for some reason, even though that who cares who's 20, who cares what 25. That's what the polls are for.
Someone please tell me who.
So just rank the top 6 and then leave everybody out, and that way you can say, it's a snapshot right now. These are the 6 best teams. It may change next week, and it doesn't matter if 7 and 8, and then because then when the shit hits the fan or rubber meets the road, whatever kind of cliche, boom, you got Clemson in. So anyway, but
let's talk about the nuclear option for a second here.
Well, real quick, let me just touch on what Josh just said. These rankings, the reason they go all the way to 25, these are for bowl selections, right? So the reason that Alabama is ranked where they are is it's all setting up for these bowls to be able to select the best team in this ranking. So
I would argue that the reason it gets to 25 is for the committee to justify what they do with 6 teams. They always they kept Kentucky in the top 25 for a while, and you've got Ole Miss hanging around at 20. No. You've got Florida State at 16 might be legit. Point being though, I think they use the bottom of these rankings almost to be why is LSU? Well, look, they beat, they only lost by 1 to Florida State. They're 16. That's not bad.
But I mean, that's what the AP is for. The committee
AP poll is just as garbage. What are we talking about? Let's be honest. Like, all these polls suck.
Oh, all right. Agreed. I think polls are stupid. I think we're not.
All right.
That's bait.
All right, but I will say though, like, you're gonna hate this take, Josh, that I'm about to say, but like, I do think
BCS.
Like, what we're talking about right now. Yeah, we should go back to the BCS. That's a totally different conversation. But like, what we're talking about right now, like, okay, Ohio State and Michigan have to play each other on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a very good chance TCU loses to Kansas State in the Big 12 championship game. LSU, let's assume they lose to Georgia, and that makes them 9-3. Like, there's not teams that deserve to be in a playoff every year. There's not, man. There's not. There's barely 4. Most years, the 4th team is a sacrificial lamb. We've had Michigan State in 2015. We had 2016 Washington in there. Like, we've had some really bad number 4 teams. We almost had Iowa one year. Like,
y'all, you just wait until you say. I've been saying TCU is going to lose. They're going to lose. They're going to lose, and they haven't. Wait until Georgia plays TCU, and you're going to see how bad the number 4 team is. Like, we're at that place.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess in that
Graham,
sense,
Graham, look, I don't actually think it's that bad a take. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's 12 teams that can win the playoff. I'm not. I actually don't think I've ever said that. So, but I think the way we do it is just dumb. I just say if it's remove subjectivity to it. And the only way to remove subjectivity is to expand the playoff. If it's the 4 best teams, then they're going to play their way in. And I think there should be a reward for the regular season and conference championship, and that would be a bye and potentially home field. I just think there's a better way to get to the 4 than what we're doing. I'm not going to tell you that number 12, I don't even know who number 12 is. Penn State, I think, is 11. So we'll just say Penn State. Penn State might actually have an upset or two, but I just think the entire postseason we'd be way better, more valuable if we just lined up more teams to play for something instead of going and throwing 2 teams in the Boca Raton Bowl. That's all. That's all I've said.
I won't relitigate that because we've had that conversation too many times on air. But I do think, looking at these playoff rankings, like, I am genuinely curious. I honestly, at this point, looking at the other options, if Southern Cal wins out, I think fine, put them in. I think that's entertaining. They're a big brand. Like, I think Georgia, Southern Cal on a neutral field is a cool matchup, or, a Southern Cal and whoever. But other than that, like, I'm sorry, Clemson is not deserving of being a playoff team this year. The ACC is trash. Like, I hope TCU wins out because they're fun, but I don't know if they're going to. Like, I guess the point I'm trying to get at here is, like, I don't know that I really would have an issue with the loser of Ohio State, Michigan just staying part.
Okay, well, that you answer my question, but again, that's the thing. Is like one of the teams is guaranteed to lose. I mean, and USC's got a hard ass path to go. I mean, Notre Dame is playing as good at football as they have all year, and they got to go to the Pac-12 conference championship game. So it's like, how can you say that USC doesn't deserve to get in over the loser? That's the thing that I hate. It's like, you've got the Pac-12 champion who has been behind them the whole year long, and then all of a sudden we're just assuming that Ohio State and Michigan are the 2 and 3 best teams, or 2nd and 3rd, or 1st and 2nd, whatever it is. We're just assuming that one of those teams deserves to get in, and Michigan's record is, his schedule is hot.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
Hot garbage.
Yeah, no, it's really.
And so I just hate that assumption because of all these subjective polls. It's been telling us all year long that they played one of their best teams at home and barely got out of there with a win. And you can tell me about Blake Corum wasn't in the second half. You can tell me all this stuff, but it's like, I just don't think that they have the body of work to say unequivocally that they deserve the 4 seed or the 3 seed over Clemson or over USC. Or maybe even over a TCU 1-loss team. You know, like what if TCU loses to Texas or to Kansas? I believe they have Kansas this week, and then they go, and then they
Iowa
they
State.
beat
They got Iowa State.
TCU has Iowa State. Iowa State. So Iowa State can't score.
Sorry. But you know, my point is like I just hate the subjectivity of it. And it's like we're putting 4 in there and like we can't keep going.
Well, the challenge is, right, you're trying to justify a full body of work over the course of a season when in reality you have teams like USC who the schedules fall differently, and momentum and who's playing well at what time and all these things. It's just very difficult to not put subjectivity on it when you have all of that happening. But at the end of the day, like my biggest issue, and y'all just got me started on it, these people, so they're athletic directors, like who are actually doing big ass jobs at these schools. Do we think they are actually watching anything? You know, like they've got some staffer watching film, making notes that they're going to this committee. These guys aren't watching tape. They're sitting there leaning on, you know, actual
our show. They're leaning on our show.
Our show. They're watching our show. And
yes,
I see you, boo.
They read the advanced stats from Dawgs Stats on Dawgs Central.
Bro.
And they were like, all right, net YPP, like we've got to keep, you know, Michigan up here. Like that's what's happening.
And I don't know the man. I don't have any sort of beef with him, but like, how are you going to make a bunch of decisions and then trot a grown man named Boo out to answer for your actions? Like, I'm sorry, bro. That doesn't legitimizes all of it. And I'm North Carolina, man. Like, I know people with some names. I mean, I got a wild name, I guess. But shit, like, dude's name is Boo.
Well, Boo's from North Carolina, right?
Yeah, he's NC State. Yeah, but I don't know. I guess at the end of all of this, like, I do think we're talking about a year where, you know,
there's 3 good teams.
Like, well,
year was the same.
I think there's 2 good teams, honestly.
Last year there were 2.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that Michigan is a good football team at all. Yeah. Especially when you're talking about in comparison to Georgia. But I look at like what just happened with Tennessee, and I think about all of the like bad faith actors, you know, all of the like there's some Tennessee media out there who, let's be honest, like they've been waiting a long time to have this amount of excitement and interest in the team that they cover. So they played this up and acted like it was bigger.
We're not talking about you, Mike Griffith. You're cool. Sorry. All right. That was.
I'm not talking about anybody.
I know.
We know. But yeah,
I know.
Like I'm also talking about like the dishonesty.
Yeah.
And just like the plain hucksterism of going and comparing Tennessee to 2019 LSU. Okay. You can Google it and figure out who it was. But like that type of shit, like it does feed into these rankings. You can't tell me it doesn't. It
absolutely
does. And like that perception and that enamoring's not a word. I don't feel like the enamorment with the offense and all of that. And instead of like really looking at it, like I bet the shit out of South Carolina last weekend. And the reason I did it is because I went and looked at the 24/7 Sports composite rankings and I realized he was number 19 and South Carolina was number 20. And you were talking about 2 teams with roughly equal talent playing in that football game. And at the end of the day, no one ever wanted to acknowledge that because it's like, oh, look, Tennessee's back. What a great brand they are. You know, look how exciting that is. And I think that it's intellectually dishonest because reality is you're talking 30-something% blue chip ratio roster and an offense that is not new. It feels new to people, but we saw it with Art Briles way back when, and Art Briles Baylor teams with similar amounts of talent to 2022 Tennessee would play a team with a defensive line twice a year, and they would get bogged down in the mud. And, you know, at least Baylor had like respectable defenses some of the time, a lot of the time. But just point being, like all of that Twitter nonsense, like all of the dishonest feeding into the lesser.
that came into a number 1 ranking first out of the gate, which was a stupid ass ranking number 1. It's like those teams were literally playing each other that week. The defending national champion was undefeated. And you gave them the number 1 thing, which gave them the path to the playoff.
Georgia.
Yeah, well, it was a gift for Georgia emotionally, but I'm like, what? You gave Tennessee a path to lose that game to get in the playoff. And how do you not?
And you gave it to them
for nothing
because they beat Alabama. No, because they beat Alabama, and because everyone thought Alabama is Alabama, and they're not, as we've already established earlier in this conversation. And like in Alabama, honestly, like the market has corrected itself somewhat for Tennessee after they got shithoused to the tune of 63-38 this weekend. But Alabama's still sitting there at number 7 because that, script A is sexy and reliable to this committee. And I'm sorry, but like I look at all of this just the way that Josh does. I look at all of the net yard per play and relative and all of that stuff. And the truth of the matter, like, and I look at the tape. And if you turn on the tape, this Alabama team isn't good. They're just not. They're not very good.
The truth of the matter is teams 5 through 11 of this week's college football rankings, any of those teams could beat this Alabama team. There is a lot of parity, and that when you put that script,
I think Kansas State would some hell too.
Yeah, and that shouldn't,
number 12.
Alabama's 89% blue chip.
Number 12. Let's light them up. Let's play them. Alabama, Kansas State.
There you go. That's your first round. I mean, but you're right, John. And I think the point really there is that like after 4 or 5 in these rankings, you can basically play like 52 pickup with the whole deck. And it really doesn't matter what order you throw. Because
no. You're 100% right. Because literally it falls off a cliff somewhere between 3 and 5. And it's just flatlines out in terms of offensive and defensive production. Never, however you calculate EPA, success rate, yards per play, whatever it is, they all flatline out to 22 to 30. So you're 100%.
Yeah, and they're all. I would imagine if you put LSU through number 25 Louisville on a neutral field, and I don't know. You might eliminate Tulane from this conversation, but you put those teams on a neutral field, 5 through 25, and I bet it's within a touchdown spread for basically all of them.
Yeah, and if you played it 100 times, it would be 50-50, or somewhere between
60-40.
Yeah. I had something else to say, but I forgot what I was going to say, so maybe save it for.
Any like thoughts you guys have about any of the games on the schedule this weekend, or Georgia Tech?
Georgia Tech. I'm actually kind of want to see our offense hit some strides, but I guess we're going to be in a rainy game supposedly.
Yeah.
So don't
90% chance of rain.
One would think we would go out there and handle our business and let some guys play, but I don't know. I don't really have a strong feeling after watching the Kentucky game. It's sort of, even though we put up some points in the Mississippi State game, I feel like, there's a potential for a limited playbook. But I am very excited to see USC, Notre Dame. I'm jacked about that.
What about Ohio State, Michigan?
I was a little more excited about it before last week. Is Corum out? I can't.
No, he's playing.
Is he going to play?
Yeah.
I think 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I was all in on Michigan was going to, but I just don't think Michigan's that good.
I don't think they're that good, but I still won't be surprised if they beat Ohio State. Because
I think Michigan's going to be more. I think they're going to be more physical, and I think if they can get that run game going, I think they'll make it an ugly game and have a chance to win it.
Hey, you guys want to talk about an all-time wouldn't it be hilarious situation is what if Texas A&M beats LSU on Saturday night?
Listen, I'm going to say this, and people will say they want. I don't think that's that far out of the realm of possibility.
I don't
either. In College Station, it's a night game. It's one of those, like, you got the SEC championship on the horizon. LSU is not that good, as I've already established. Yeah, that would be an all-timer. What if South Carolina lights up Clemson too? That would be. What if it's not an aberration? What if Marcus Satterfield coaching for his life because South Carolina fans wanted him rode out of town on a rail 2 weeks ago? What if he's able to beat Tennessee and Clemson back-to-back games? That'd be wild.
And then it's like a Malzahn situation where he signs like a giant extension because of like a 3-week span.
Well, yeah, the OC. They're stuck. Yeah, well, you've got Shane Beamer, the offensive coordinator, right? So all of South Carolina's fans want him out of town. Now you got Shane Beamer like giving him game balls for calling good games. That guy's gonna end up calling the game and end up being the offensive coordinator again.
Tennessee's defense shouldn't be the litmus test of whether or not your offensive coordinator's worth a shit.
Definitely
not. Vandy, Tennessee, kind of interesting. I don't know if that's actually
very interesting. I hate, I like in all of this Tennessee talk, we shouldn't overlook the fact that it definitely sucks that Hendon Hooker got hurt. Like he's made this college football season more fun and more entertaining.
He's a great kid, good story, great kid. And in the era of name, image, and likeness and portal, he's the exemplary character in terms of just doing everything right. Came into Tennessee having lost, like with the changing in coaching, and got picked over for and waited for his time. And he's written a book with his brother, and just he's just an all around great college story and athlete. And I hope he gets a full recovery and gets a chance to prove his value in the NFL.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess all that does bring up the fact that Joe Milton is one of the more like erratic experiences in college football, I believe. Like, I mean, dude's a freak athlete. Like when that deep ball's hitting, it's hitting. But I mean, sometimes I watch him play and I just laugh because just these passes will come off his hand. Like, I mean, it looks like a friggin' 98 mile an hour fastball. Rolling through the middle of the field. So I think that game has some major potential to be erratic. I am excited for Apple Cup. I'm a huge Apple Cup guy. I love the Civil War as well. Oregon State, underrated. We already
all those games matter, right? Those games matter big, right? Actually, no one's clinched a spot. Has USC clinched a spot?
USC has.
USC had class because they have because they're out. That's an out of conference game, but I think Oregon.
There's a lot of scenarios.
Yeah, Oregon wins are in, but yeah. So Pac-12 is obviously all eyes on it. It's really I don't know. I'd like to see. I don't know. Do you want USC in or not?
I'm sneezing.
I mean, why not? I don't know. Who else? Putting in, man, like LSU.
Selfishly, I really, as a Georgia fan, I would love to play USC.
I think it'd be fun.
I really would.
I think it'd be cool. In college was it was 07, the year that Georgia played Hawaii in the Sugar Bowl. There was a lot of talk about a number 3 Georgia versus number 4 USC Rose Bowl.
Yep.
And
I was so pissed.
And I think a lot of the
factor. Josh gets mad. Josh gets mad at the internet.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Georgia.
The theory I've always had about that game, though, is that they didn't make that matchup because the winner of it would have had a legitimate shared national title claim in that 2007 year, where everyone had 2 losses at least. So, but I remember sitting in a bar in downtown Athens, I think it was the weekend after Thanksgiving, and or maybe the Monday or Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It was the week of the SEC championship game, and I was talking to Matthew Stafford, and he said that they want to play USC in the Rose Bowl, but it didn't happen. So maybe they can do it now. It'll be fun.
Georgia's 0-3 all time versus USC. Last time they played was 1960.
That doesn't even count.
I know, but would be nice to
break the streak.
Nice, to play a team that you haven't beaten. That'd be nice.
I mean, I just think we're talking about a pretty good uniform matchup too, man. in the all whites, not all whites, excuse me, but in the whites, and then USC in the traditional cardinal red or whatever, scarlet, whatever it is.
That's an interesting point that you bring up, though, because Georgia would technically be the home team as the number 1 seed in Atlanta. Would Kirby Smart and Mercedes-Benz choose to play in the whites?
I would if I was him.
I would too. Georgia's record is insane, but no, Kirby. Kirby's going to try out those reds, man. Kirby's a.
Wait, did Georgia wear whites or reds against Oregon this year?
Red. It was a red versus green situation.
It was a good looking uniform matchup.
It's Christmas.
Yeah. All right. So we did at least see Georgia break the streak of losing in the reds. And Mercedes-Benz.
And Mercedes-Benz, yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, guys, anything else? Any other thoughts? Pearls of wisdom? Oh, before we go, I need some sort of hot Thanksgiving take out of you guys. What's the goat? What's the goat Thanksgiving side, or what pie? Give me your pie. Favorite pie?
Pumpkin.
Nice.
I like it. I like pumpkin pie.
God.
I like pecan. I like apple. I like all the pies, but right now I'm craving pumpkin.
Man, my wife makes the old-fashioned chocolate pie. It's like it's kind of like the chocolate pudding, with like the meringue on top, and man, that stuff is the best. It's the stuff that you get in I used to stop in the middle of Tennessee driving somewhere in a little diner and have a cup of coffee and a piece of chocolate pie. But it's that kind of chocolate pie. Good stuff.
Yeah. All right, I got a pro tip from my man Gator Hater. All right, if you're frying a turkey, go get you a pound and a half, whatever it is, of the thick cut peppercorn bacon. Okay. And as your oil gets hot, you cook the bacon in the oil. You season the oil a little bit, and you've got deep fried bacon to munch on. Pro tip.
Dude, that is a pro tip.
Yeah.
Shout out. That's the best way to end it right there.
Thank you, John. Yeah, that is the best way to end it. Gentlemen, have an excellent Thanksgiving to all of our listeners and viewers, and especially our Dawgs Central family of subscribers. Thank you so much for your support and for giving us a reason to make this content every time you consume it. We are very grateful for you all and look forward to breaking down a lot more Georgia football with you as we close out this season.
And to hell with Georgia Tech.
To hell with Georgia Tech.
Happy Thanksgiving.